So as in the other Gospels, Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem marks a major shift from his public ministry to the last few days of his life. John gives us a helpful note that sort of summarizes his public ministry. In chapter 12, starting in verse 37, he says, although Jesus performed many miraculous signs before them, they refused to believe in him. But then and down to verse 42, we see, nevertheless, even among the rulers, many believed in him, but because of the Pharisees, they would not confess Jesus to be the Christ, so that they would not be put out of the synagogue, for they loved the praise from men more than the praise from God. So this is sort of weird. You have many didn't believe in him, actually. The people did not believe in him, but many did believe in him on the other side. And I think what's happening here is we have Jesus, being received in this triumphant entry, palm branches at his feet. But what John is trying to tell us is many of those people in the crowds, they did not really believe him, even though they came out to hear him, even though they were listening to him. They were not ready to follow him. And so they did not believe him. They were there, but they were not believing. And we get sort of a peek at what is it that they wouldn't want to follow. And we see this in Jesus' sort of last speech to them, which comes just before this. And Jesus is basically pointing out that he's going to suffer and die. And that this is something that they are not willing to accept. They want a Jesus who's just going to lead them as King of Israel into this new kingdom of David, into this life. They don't want what it really means to follow Jesus, which is hardship, which is difficulty, which is him going to his death for the sins of the world, and then also those who follow him sort of going, taking up our cross and following him in that way, to follow in that same mission, that it's not going to be a quick here and there to the kingdom of God, but there's a lot that comes in between that, and it is a heavy road. And so I think what John is showing us is that within even crowds of people are coming to hear him, and we can think what comes to my mind is within a lot of churches, you have crowds of people who are there, they like to listen to messages about the Lord. But among them, there is not, many are not saved. Many are not really willing to follow after Jesus. They're there, they're listening, but that says very little. Even regularly going and hearing Jesus has very little to do with whether or not you're willing to follow him. But we have the encouraging note that there were many dispersed, even though they have not chosen to confess Jesus as the Christ. It says, for they loved the praise of men more than the praise from God. There are many of these people who they are starting to believe. They are starting to be willing to kind of go further to follow him. And so there's this sort of this ironic sort of note of these people who have been coming out and seeing him, that they're not really willing to follow him other than those, that core group of disciples. But there are these people that are dispersed now who may be willing to follow him, who may be willing to really go after him after his resurrection.